Welcome, it is June 16th, and you're here at the MBA show!
Woo! Subscribe to us on iTunes.
Awesome, we have a great show for you today.
We will be providing tips for business school deans looking for jobs.
And we'll be talking about what to do if your internship sucks.
Let's go to the headlines. Johns Hopkins dean resigns.
Yep, so Yash Gupta, the dean of Johns Hopkins Carey School of Business, resigned abruptly last month.
Yikes.
Yep, he was the founding dean of the business school, which was just created in 2007. He didn't even make it through to see the graduation of their first full-time MBA class.
Big vote of confidence from those students.
So the students actually weren't too sad to see Dean Gupta go. Over the past 6 months, his name showed up as a finalist in 3 different university president searches.
It is always awkward to run into your dean's resume on Monster.com.
This is true. He didn't get any of the jobs, but boy, what a resume did he prepare.
I love this thing.
41-page resume.
Don't hurt your back lifting that.
And Tom, I know you do. So I've scanned through, and I have a couple of highlights from this resume.
All right, let's hear some quotes
that I think you will enjoy. As the inaugural deans of Johns Hopkins, I have been charged to create a unique program that can leverage the strengths of Johns Hopkins University.
That's it?
Yes.
I mean, for a 41-pager, I would have expected something a little bit more concrete, a little bit more substantial.
Well, what should he do different?
Well, I don't know. I've been counseled to try to include numerical metrics in there. So
you want to put results in.
Yeah, so people can get a sense of what you have actually accomplished.
So how would you rewrite this?
Well, for example, he may want to say something along the lines of, graduated 0 full-time MBA students. Just give us a sense of how it actually
to really show the impact that you've had on the school. Yeah, that's a good point. Here's another choice one of his accomplishments from Johns Hopkins. I have developed very strong relationships with Maryland legislators. I have used visits to Annapolis to share my vision for the Carey School with them and have received an overwhelmingly positive response.
Yes, the overwhelmingly positive response. I applied for a consulting job at McKinsey and I received an overwhelmingly positive response.
Oh, you got the job?
Well, I mean, if I had gotten the job, I probably would just say so.
But you just said you got an overwhelmingly positive response.
That's pretty much what they just do.
When they don't get the jobs.
Give me another quote.
Yes, okay. Here's my personal favorite. This gets an entire bullet point on a 41-page resume. To strengthen ties in the school community, I introduced Dean's Coffee Sessions for faculty, staff, and students, respectively, to provide a venue for participants to talk directly to the dean.
We migrated out of Resume Zone, and now we're into just exporting your calendar into Microsoft Word.
So I've spent some time with this resume, and I think you can really boil these 41 pages down to one simple message from the Johns Hopkins dean.
And what is that?
Get me out of Baltimore! Have you been there? Have you seen The Wire? That's based on reality. I don't care how many John Waters movies, which are lovely, and what he has to say. Baltimore I'm sorry, it's terrible.
I love The Wire. All right, let's move on to our jargon.
So our jargon today is the say-do ratio. And Tom, what is the say-do ratio?
All right, the say-do ratio is the ratio of things that you say you'll do to the things you actually do. Thank you for holding it together there, Miro.
Do-do.
So ideally, you want to keep your say-do ratio as low as possible. And what that means is promising less and doing more.
Do-do.
So some people call this the under-promise, over-deliver concept.
Do-do.
So, what you don't want to do is tell people that you're going to do something and then not do it.
You want to make sure that you do it.
Thank you, Miro. And
I love this.
So the say-do ratio, despite my colleagues' inability to keep it together for the segment, is actually a very important thing. So, for example, you might think that the ideal thing is just to keep the say-do ratio as absolutely as low as possible.
But what if I want to have more do in my life?
Well, for example, sometimes in some industries, like for example, government contracts, you actually are going to overpromise a little. So when you submit your bid for that contract, maybe you're gonna claim that you can do it for less money than it's actually gonna take, and you're gonna have to go back and ask for more money.
So you're saying that government contracts are full of doo-doo?
Basically, yes. And what I've heard is that for
I don't
government
know why
contracts,
I enjoy this so much.
you know, a reasonable ratio, something on the order of 10 to 1, say-do ratio. Whereas if you're making an agreement with one of your friends, like I'm going to meet you at the mall at 6 p.m., you probably want to stick as close to 100% as possible.
You want to stick the doo-doo.
Exactly.
With your good friends.
I think we should probably move on.
I think that's probably best. So
Let's go to the business school tip of the week.
So our business school tip of the week is hate your internship? Congratulations!
Because that doesn't exactly seem like a time for celebration.
But you are wrong. So MBAs, many of you out there are starting your internships, and many of you are not liking it right now, and that's a good thing.
Are you sure? Because it sounds like a disaster.
So compare this. Compare what happens if you get a bad internship with the idea of having a bad job. One of the great gifts of an internship is that it's done in 2 months. And you figured out that this isn't the place you want to work or the thing you want to do, and you have a guaranteed exit, unlike if you get into a real job.
So you're saying this is actually kind of like a successful experiment.
So yeah, and it's probably going to be hard to appreciate right now, but you've avoided a terrible life decision by discovering you don't like your internship. Successful experiment.
Well, so what should somebody do great, successful experiment. What should somebody do if they are in one of these, horrible gone wrong experiments?
All right, well, so the first thing you're going to want to do is tease out something that's actually pretty hard to tease out, which is, are you hating it because of the people at that company?
Okay.
Or are you hating it because actually that industry and that job doesn't work for you? And it's really easy to have an initial gut reaction that's wrong. So for instance, if you work at an investment bank and you're surrounded by jerks, then you might think, oh, it's just the bank that I'm at, when in fact the entire industry is filled with horrible, horrible human beings. On the other hand, maybe you're at a startup, and so everyone's lovely, and you think maybe it's the startup, it's the startup culture, but it could actually be the environment of that individual company. Different companies have very different environments, and in all industries, you're going to have to tease that out, which is a really important factor.
So I think what you're saying is if people decide that the industry is bad, you can the industry. If they decide that the firm is bad, you can the firm.
Yes.
But stay in the industry, or you could.
Yes. And, and making that decision can be really important. Now that said, even if you're at your job and hating it, you're still going to have to stick it out for 2 months, and you're going to need to get some wins while you're there.
So if you are interested in figuring out how to do that, stay tuned for our bonus section where we will be covering some specific tips that you can use to try to improve your situation if you are at one of these not so great internships.
And you can get access to that bonus content by subscribing to our newsletter at www.thembashow.com.
Miro, what's on your radar this weekend?
So this is excellent. I'm going to the Provincetown Film Festival this weekend, and when I come back, my ass is going to be completely sore from watching 5 hours of movies every single day for an entire weekend.
That sounds very reasonable. I will be going to a wedding for a good friend. Actually, one of my wife's oldest friends, Kim Harvest, is getting married, so congratulations, Kim and Mark.
Mazel tov! As always, I'm Miro Kaz.
I'm the real Tom Rose, and you've been watching
The MBA Show.